Why are Muslims perceived as bad people in the Western world? Well, there are a number of reasons. The most main reason to me for Muslims being portrayed as bad people is the media. You see, Muslims have been living in the West with no problems with the people at all. The Christians, the Western world, United States of America, Europe, have had excellent relationships with the Muslim world in the past 200 or 300 years. We had no violence, we had no terrorism, we had nothing. Only after the intervention in Iraq and the conquering of Iraq and Afghanistan, where a group of people, after protesting, after trying to defend their countries, went out of the straight path and started to do terrorist attacks. Only then they felt the gravity of what they had done, that is, the non-Muslims. So they tried to fight these terrorists, these extremists, who were doing such terrorist attacks and failed to do so. While doing this, they realized the strength of Islam. They were shocked to see people in Indonesia, people in Morocco, hundreds of thousands of miles away from Palestine, from Iraq, from Afghanistan. They were all supporting these countries who are different to them in color, in ethnicity, and in language. Yet the Westerners were shocked to see the Muslims standing together. And when they looked into their own countries, as in the case of the United States or the case of Europe, they found that a lot of their own citizens were accepting and embracing Islam in a very fast pace. And after doing their math, they discovered that in 10, 20, maybe 30 years, the Muslims will become a majority in their countries, because the Muslims reproduce following the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, while the Europeans have only one child or no children at all. So they thought that this is a big problem to them, and they started a plan where they would, by it, try to minimize the existence of Muslims in their countries. But still they could not stop people from accepting Islam. So they turned to their media and used it as a weapon of war against the Muslims. So whatever any Muslim does in the world, they attribute it to Islam. While if a Greek who is Christian does something, the person did this. And if a Jew did something, they would say a Ukrainian did this. They would not attribute it to the religion. But whenever a Moroccan does something, they would say a Muslim. And they started to highlight these bad. Some of them are true. We cannot deny this. There are bad apples in every country. But to falsely accuse Islam of this and that, and accusing or labeling more than 1.6 billion Muslims that they are following the footsteps of these terrorists, this is unfair and injustice that has to be clarified. This is the first reason, or the main reason, and that is the media is responsible for showing the Muslims in this fashion and manner. The second reason is that the non-Muslims, as stated before, are afraid of Islam becoming the dominating religion, and their influence would fade away. the influence of the church, the influence of those who were misleading their people would be fading away and Islam would prevail. The third and final reason, in my opinion, would be that they are jealous. When they see that our children stick with their parents until they die, when they become old, each one of the offspring tries his level best to win the heart of the father or the mother so that they could stay with them, with their wife and children in his house. And they fight over that. They are jealous when they see that we have the least criminals, while in the States, for example, the largest inmates, prisoners in jails, criminals that is, in the world is in the USA. When they see that we don't have as many rape cases as they do, or suicide, or consuming or abusing drugs and intoxications, they feel jealous. When they see how charitable Muslims are and how it is part of their religion not to lie, it is part of their religion not to cheat or to steal, it is part of their religion to help the poor and the needy, they feel jealous about that. And this is not the trend, by the way. I do not claim that the Muslims are all like this. Unfortunately, they are not. But as a whole, they have a lot of good attributes, far more than the good attributes that the non-Muslims have, and their evil is far less than the evil that the non-Muslims have, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best.